Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we talk in annoyingly pedantic detail about every single film that Nicolas Cage has ever starred in or been in.
I'm about to say it's not starred in.
Even tangentially, but he's always the star in our book.
We did Grindhouse because he was in it for 7 seconds.
We did Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, Fast Times I think is probably like the shortest amount of time that he is in a film that we've had to review.
Yeah, probably. But we had Judge Reinhold in that. So that was,
we did.
The Honorable Judge Reinhold. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, without whom I could not do this. So how are we feeling about closing out The Rock, guys?
I'm the rocking and the rolling.
I'm just the rocking. I'm not that excited about it. But we didn't get to the best part yet, which is Sean Connery's hair.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Should have kept that the whole fucking movie.
There's a lot of good shit in this next part. So, where we had last left off, the general did his initial reach out call, which I never understood that in ransom situations. You're like, I'm gonna demand a ransom, but I'll call you back. I have to write it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to think about it. I got to think about what I really want.
Yeah. You got to do some calculations, cost-benefit analysis, and, really settle on a number. But this is us covering the remainder of The Rock, the 1996. One of the big three, what our original thesis is the quintessential Nick Cage films. I stand by that, despite the faith of my co-host being shaken upon this rewatch. So, if these three films are the Holy Trinity, I will admit that The Rock is probably the Holy Ghost. Not a lot of screen time, and people make up a bunch of bullshit about it. So, let's get back into it. We cut...
Right, and the father is clearly Face-Off, and the son is Con Air.
Yes,
yeah, I think
correct.
so.
That is,
okay.
We've got it pegged. We'll send it off to Rome and see if the Vatican will sign off on that alignment for us. Who knows? This Pope might actually respond if we send a polite enough letter.
Yeah,
he might actually say something about it.
Right,
what the fuck else is he doing?
It may just be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But
no, I actually expect like chapter and verse references about why we're right or wrong. Who knows? Maybe the Pope is a big Nick Cage fan.
He might be.
He could be.
I mean, Cage comes from a Catholic family.
Yeah, that's fair.
Coppola's boy.
That's fair. The Coppolas probably have a pew at the Vatican, I would think. Yeah. I'm assuming only famous Italian Catholics have pews at the Vatican. Do they do that there? Can you still get that little brass plate? I don't know. They got like fucking emeralds and war gold, so I'm assuming they're not selling pews. Who knows? We'll have to Google this. Ryan's not clacking away, so I got to find a way to pique his interest.
All right. I'm just
whether or not you can get a
when it
dedicated
comes to
pew
Catholicism, my brain is just like, no, don't go back there. Don't think about that too much.
Come on. I will say, as a general opponent to organized religion, the more exposure I get to the tendrils of Christianity, the more I respect the Catholics. Everything's a sin except getting drunk, and we have a very strict structure that we adhere to for Mass. In and out.
Apparently the
45
Vatican's
minutes.
standing room only, so that is kind of interesting.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They don't have pews?
They do not have pews.
How do you not have pews in a church?
I have no idea. It's standing room only.
That's fucking crazy.
They gotta pack them in.
Fucking Catholicism is all general admission tickets.
It's just lawn seats if you want to go to a Pope's Mass? That's crazy.
I guess.
All right. Anyway, we're at the Pentagon, okay? I do like how this movie is like, we got to move quick. So they call the FBI director, and then we immediately cut to a Pentagon war room. Also, one of my favorite bits about this movie is that the president does not show up until it's time to bomb an island. He's not present in the room. They're like, let's inform the president. We don't see dick of the president until like the last 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah. I don't even know who plays the president. Was it someone cool? I don't think so.
Ryan, do your thing. Because,
Yeah, I'm doing
like,
my thing.
He's seriously is just like, I've got more important shit than the entire civilian population of the San Francisco Bay Area being threatened with our own biological weapons.
That people don't know exist. That is scary as fuck.
They're like, we were about to sell this to Saudi Arabia. We don't want to let people know about this.
Nah. Those are some Israel weapons.
I was trying to avoid the public discourse there, but you're right. That's the right joke. So anyway,
sorry. We condemn Hamas.
The president was an uncredited
fucking
role
free
by
Palestine.
Stanley Anderson, a man that I am now about to see if I know him from anything. He also played the president in Armageddon, so these two movies are in fact
There you
connected. And
They
he played
happen in the
Zach
same
in
universe.
RoboCop 3.
wait, who is he in RoboCop 3?
Zach. I don't know that man.
I do not know this one. All right. So, everybody's at the Pentagon War Room, and the general calls in. And he lays out the number of men that have died under his command. He calls out the men that didn't get medals and whose families didn't get benefits. And he requests, again, a Dr. Evil level sum of $100 million.
Okay, so I do have one more thing to say about the president. He is apparently the judge that sent the Seinfeld cast to prison, Judge Arthur Vandelay.
Not the Honorable Judge Reinhold.
Not the Honorable Judge
no.
Reinhold, but the one who does play the fucking greatest bit in sitcom ending history.
Okay, all right. Well, at least they got somebody respectable to play the president.
That was like 2 years later.
Nice.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah. Moving up in the world from being president to judge.
So he specifies the account he wants the payments made from, and explains it's a slush fund for the Pentagon that's funded by illegal arms deals. To which, like, the big man in the room, whose title I'm not even sure of, is like, Jesus Christ, that's classified. And I do love that everybody else, ostensibly the folks right next to it, if not the levers, the gears of power in the country, are like, what? The Pentagon is making money off of selling illegal weapons? Like, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's pretty funny. So,
What do you mean the U.S. engages in illegal arms sales? I've never heard this before.
It's news to me.
Yeah, no, I'm getting real Sorkin vibes from the everybody responds with shock in that scene.
Yeah.
So he threatens to fire the gas if the media learns of this, or they won't pay, and gives them 40 hours to respond. So the call disconnects and the room talks strategy. We learn how deadly this gas that the general has is, with some, like, something goofy. He's like, so if it detonates, how many people are dead? And the one guy's like, 700. And he's like, well, that's not so bad. He's like, million or something like that. Is this, like, ridiculous? It's the old joke. The guy goes to the doctor and he's informed he has a terminal illness. And he's like, how long do I have to live, doc? And the doctor's like, 5. And he's like, 5 what? Years? Months? And he's like, 4. 3. So the general did close out the call with, your countermeasures can't do shit about this, basically. And we get clarification on that, in that the only thing that can burn out this VX gas is these. It's something stupid. I can't remember the terms that they, like, linked up. It was like thermite plasma. It was thermite plasma bombs.
General MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's MacGuffin firebomb is the only thing that burns hot enough to destroy
To take down
VX gas.
MacGuffin chemical warfare.
MacGuffin,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's MacGuffin versus MacGuffin.
Yes, correct.
The MacGuff off.
And so, meanwhile, they task the FBI director to get their best chemical expert. Cut to Stanley and Carla having sex on the roof of their apartment building, the balcony. I can't recall exactly what it is. But it's outside, so we got some exhibitionists on our hands. And a phone call interrupts them. Stanley explains he has to leave to an upset Carla, who's mainly thinking about being pregnant and them not being married because she's, quote, Catholic.
Oh, no.
Right, the Pope. So Stanley promises that he loves her and will marry her, and even says, hey, look, I have to go to San Francisco, but fly out, get a hotel room. This is probably just a training exercise, and when it's all done, we'll just, hang out and have a good time in San Francisco. Back at the Pentagon, they discuss the problems with assaulting Alcatraz and how basically all of the blueprints are useless for whatever reason. MacGuffin
They said
reason.
that it's been rebuilt 20 times.
Yeah, don't you need blueprints every time you
I guess
rebuild
blueprints
something?
don't fucking exist.
You're
It's
supposed to.
ridiculous.
It's the same explanation of Ankh-Morpork in the Discworld books. The foundations of Ankh-Morpork were the last Ankh-Morpork.
I'm sorry, are you referring to that Mormon fantasy series?
No, I'm referring to the British fantasy series by my Lord and Savior Terry Pratchett, the great humanist philosopher.
I have a buddy who would be so fucking pissed off that I confused that with a Brandon Sanderson book.
Yeah, no, I do not fuck with Brandon Sanderson. I read whatever the first fucking mist whatever, the one where they use precious metals to power their magic, and I was like, this reads like a role-playing game supplement. I'm done with this.
Look, I can't stand on ceremony. I think I mentioned in a previous episode. I'm currently reading Fairy Smut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yep. And let me tell you, you don't need a rhino dick pills to get hard if you're reading Fairy Smut. Some of those scenes are filthy. Anyway.
I'll get around to it. I guarantee.
Yo, I'm not going to lie. The excessive sex scenes completely aside, the story's not bad. At least in book 2, it really turns around. At least
All
for
right.
me. So, not terrible. Glowing endorsement for some Fairy Smut. So, the blueprints to Alcatraz are useless. The FBI director gets into an argument with some other high-up guy about there's a guy who can help, a former SAS operative. And the FBI director is like, he doesn't officially exist. We can't do that. He's a fucking psychopath. Shit like that, right?
No, and no name. No name given.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then
So you know he's a big bad.
Also, we cut to a prison even like Black. It looks like this man has not been let out of a room for 20 years. Like, it's Count of Monte Cristo level fucking dishevelment. I'm
surprised they didn't have him in an iron mask.
Yeah, there you go. We get to see a very grizzled Sean Connery, which is fantastic. The long hair is really cool looking on him. I'm not gonna lie.
It's really fucking cool. He looks like he should be in a death metal band. He looks like he should be in Deicide.
Yes. And he is escorted out in a lot of chains out of his cell. And then we cut to Stanley arriving in a plane hangar where he meets with the FBI director. He's questioned about VX gas, and we get... So, Stanley's character is tough to pin down what direction they were trying to fucking go with him, and I think they didn't really decide on it, because he has... he goes on, a nerdy diatribe, but the whole scene is essentially supposed to indicate how much of an expert he is with this shit, just casually, rattling shit off the top of his head, extemporaneously. But, based on their questions, he's also sharp enough to clue in that this is not a training exercise. So, we cut from there to the FBI's mobile command center somewhere in San Francisco. The director and Stanley arrive, and the director gives everyone a rundown on this prisoner, Mason, explaining that he escaped Alcatraz. Stanley goes, I thought nobody escaped Alcatraz. And they're like, officially, fucking nobody did. So they need him so that he can explain how he pulled it off, and so they can just reverse those steps and break into Alcatraz. Foolproof plan. Also, they're willing to grant him a full pardon in exchange. So this is where we get introduced to Forsythe's character, which is Special Agent in Charge Paxton, who's like kind of like a stereotypical hard ass that again they change tracks with partway through the movie. But Paxton,
it's weird.
It is a little bit weird. So Paxton goes in to make the initial pitch to Mason, explains there's a hostage situation, and Mason is surprised to learn that Alcatraz has now become a tourist attraction. Mason immediately insists on a stay at the Fairmont Hotel while he thinks over the offer. I stayed at a Fairmont once, actually, for my cousin's wedding, but that was the one in Boston. It's nice. A little dated, but it was nice. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe like 1996 was like the year of
yeah, no, it would have been considered opulent as fuck back then. Nowadays, I like my modern comforts a little bit too much. And
yeah, like staying at the Trump Plaza in 1987.
I was gonna say,
this is the height of luxury.
I like a place that needs a couple less layers of paint between you and the old lead paint. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you want to get the lead paint. That's how you build up a tolerance.
Now, I might quibble with the fact that they say that nobody escaped Alcatraz, because, like, 3 dudes definitely got out of there on a boat, and the question is whether or not they died at sea. I would consider that an escape from Alcatraz, personally.
So here's
so
the thing. That's the bit that they use. That is the bit that they use in this film for Mason. I'm almost positive they reference 2 other people being involved in the escape attempt, and the basic line was they died in the attempt, so they didn't escape.
Okay, I don't agree with that logic, because death is an escape in this specific
the
type
ultimate,
of deal.
Some would say.
Yeah, but and you know, it's a similar enough name. The guy who masterminded it, Frank Morris, is Morris Mason. That's kind of close-ish. Both M names.
That might have been the inspiration for the entire fucking screenplay, to be honest.
It was definitely the inspiration for the Clint Eastwood film Escape from Alcatraz, which is what made me think I should double check on that.
So,
good call on that.
Yeah, after Mason does like the hardball response, Paxton, full on intimidating hard ass, tosses a quarter to him and is like, "Call your lawyer, 'cause you're going back to jail." But isn't this supposed to be a joke? Wasn't he imprisoned without any fucking representation or a trial?
He was in jail without a trial, which was kind of like why he was so fucking pissed.
Yeah, so, like, that is bullshit. He's like, I didn't have an attorney in the first fucking place, you asshole. So the quarter bit is incredibly contrived, but also very important for what happens next. So, the FBI director decides to send in Stanley. And he does so because Stanley picks out some fucking quote from Mason while they're watching behind the two-way glass when Paxton is doing the initial pitch. So they're like, oh, he might like you because you understand his fucking obscure references, which are very, very basic level references for the most part.
Yeah, not very
which I love. What was that?
They weren't very obsure. But it's kind of like...
He's like doing Shakespeare quotes and shit like that. And
but it's like white dude with gun is dumb. Like,
yeah.
It's super funny. But it is also a tactic that I had somebody point this out to me when I was like, I think like 15 reading a Dan Brown novel, and I was like, I solved the final puzzle and I'm not even an Egyptologist. And they're like, yeah, dipshit, they always make the super hard puzzle something your average person can get because it makes you feel super smart and good. And so now I'm always super suspicious of any story that like hands me something that I can figure out.
Yeah. I didn't know that Alcatraz closed in 1963 originally, and that it was noted brainworm enthusiast Robert F. Kennedy that did it.
Huh.
Did you guys hear about that? How he's got worms in his brain, literally?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But he says the doctor's got him out, which is exactly what somebody with brainworms would say.
Yeah, And he was like, hey, everybody, don't worry about it. The brain worms that I had are not affecting my short-term memory.
And I should be a fine president with that chunk of my brain gone.
They're like, listen, guys, I'm fine now. I just want to climb to the top of the tallest tree or plant I can get to and wave at birds.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we all want?
He just reminds me of the Steve Austin character in 30 Rock. Like the dumb politician.
Yeah.
And if you're blind, yes, I am the wrestler.
Wasn't that Jesse Ventura's tagline when he ran for governor?
If you're blind, yes, I am the wrestler? Absolutely.
Ah, shit. You know what? This is as good a time as any for some ads. You
Yeah.
want to do some ads?
I'd love to do some ads.
Yeah, let's do an ad. Let's do one ad. It's gonna be 3 ads. I decide what ads.
A couple quick ads. Just a few ads as a treat for the listeners.
Well, I don't decide what ads come on the show. I just decide how many you have to sit through.
All right. Well,
if I could set it to 20, I would to make you do the Patreon.
Yeah, I would have to veto that decision. That sounds like cruel and unusual punishment, like locking up a guy without representation in Alcatraz for 20 years. Welcome back from those ads. They were definitely ads for something, I'm sure. Maybe Lancaster. Go check it out. We haven't had a good Amish roast in a minute. But yeah, if you hate those, which I'm sure you do, go to our Patreon, give us $1, and then you don't have to worry about that ever again until next month, and then give us another $1, and then you don't have to worry about it ever again until the month after that. Anyway, you get the pattern.
You get how time works, and you understand how a monthly subscription works as well. You have Hulu.
I don't.
Really?
Wait, y'all don't have Hulu? That's
Fuck
Of
no.
course
one
I do.
thing that's actually worth it.
No, I don't pay for... The only streaming services I paid for are anime-related.
Okay.
Because I'm a DJ.
You know what? That is very on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is recorded, right?
If I could pay for Tubi without ads, I would. That's how fucking degenerate I am. Because they have the good trash.
Tubi does have some good trash, but also patreon.com/NickCageFight. Give us $1. Okay, movie.
So they send Stanley in. They're like, pretend you're a field agent, lie about X, Y, and Z. And so they send Stanley in. And we get a good bit with him stumbling over his words, acquiescing to every single request of Mason freely. And, of course, you have to throw the bone to the FBI director because Mason, in response to the pardon paperwork that he signs basically immediately with very little prompting from Stanley, he says in a different language, I'm assuming Greek. No. What would it be? What he says is, I don't trust Greeks, especially bearing gifts, or something like that.
I did not catch that. I would assume it's Latin, then, if he's referring to Greeks.
Well, there you go. Even funnier that he says something in a dead language, and Stanley knows it.
Yeah.
So he gets him a cup of coffee. He gets Mason's handcuffs taken off. And gets him to sign this paper. Mason still insists on his stay at the Fairmont. So Stanley leaves with the signed papers to go back behind the two-way glass and turn this over.
Hey, I got it. It's a quote from the Aeneid. It's in Latin. It's Timeo Danios et Donia Ferinetes. It means, I fear the Greeks even when bearing gifts. It was spoken by the Trojan priest Laocoon, referring to the Trojan horse.
Again, the Aeneid is not obscure.
It's not obscure at all.
Obscure shit.
No.
These guys just forgot their high school reading.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Mystery solved.
There you go. Thank you. So, left alone in the room, Mason scuffs up the quarter that has fallen to the floor that Paxton threw at him earlier, while Stanley gets berated a little bit. Like, why didn't you promise him more shit at this point? And FBI Director Womack tears the pardon to pieces, like, right in front of Stanley, and he's like, I gave that man my word. And he's like, that man's a piece of shit. It doesn't matter. But with nobody paying attention to him, Mason goes up and draws a circle in the glass with the scuffed up quarter, and then smashes through it with his elbow, peeks his head in, and sees Womack, and he's like, Womack, you piece of shit. I knew you were behind this.
It's so good.
Yeah, and then agents rush in and restrain him. But they do bring him to the Fairmont, which is hilarious to me. Oh, also, there's a moment while they're going to the Fairmont in an armored car where Stanley tries to call Carla and tell her not to come to San Francisco, to which Carla promptly goes, you're fucking crazy, I'm coming, and hangs up on him. So she's showing up despite the severe threat in this area because, of course, you have to increase some tension. Stanley also has to ask for a gun because he didn't bring his, because he's not a field agent, despite, working for the FBI.
Yeah, and it was a good line to like, oh, where's yours? In my sock drawer.
So this is a part I do want to like. I have questions. This is a very cool scene. The whole hotel bit is cool in general. Like I think we said this before we started recording. This movie is basically what if James Bond got caught by the U.S. government at some point, and it's just Sean Connery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Mason is showering in his hotel room, and two agents are sitting outside, and Mason's like singing along to a radio that's on, but then leans out of the shower to grab a phone that's not in view to the agents to order up a bunch of room service. I thought it was really funny, though, because he's like, do you have, like, snacks and shit?
Snacks
and they're like,
stuff.
and then what we see brought up later is, like, fucking lobster and seafood towers. Like,
oh, yeah, the seafood towers crack me up because the schlubby FBI agents are like, here, have a scallop.
Yeah, I'll toss you a scallop. And the guy's like, no, I don't want it. But, like, this room service is easily $1,500 worth of fucking food, and nobody questions it, which is insane. But I need to know. So there's a fucking knob, like there's like this metal cap in the shower that has the knot to some sort of nylon rope. What the fuck is that supposed to be? Do either of you know of anything?
Holds your loofah?
No.
What?
Holds your loofah. That's my only guess.
No, it's the rope that he eventually loops around the FBI director's hand. He pulls it out of the tiled wall, and again, there's just a knot set in like a metal cap. I don't know if it's supposed to like hang up your laundry or something like that.
It might be a laundry thing. I was going to say it's the poop rope, just to be irreverent, but...
The poop rope.
I have no idea.
You're telling me you don't know about the poop rope? Yeah, I have no idea. I hope it's not another MacGuffin and it's just some obscure, like, old-timey hotel thing that I'm not aware of. But regardless, Mason obtains a length of, like, nylon rope from this dispenser in the shower. And then they bring up, which I have to say is probably the most poorly aged part of this film. They bring up a stylist because Mason also insisted on a haircut and a shave, right?
Yeah, shave and a haircut.
But yeah, so they bring this guy in. They're like, "Are you the barber?" And he's like, "I'm the stylist." And this is the most caricature of a gay man that you will see in a '90s film. That's his whole bit. That is the whole joke with this character, and it's played up to the hilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he's cutting the hair, and first of all, they don't let him have scissors, and he's like, no scissors? Are you crazy? And they're like, yeah, just a buzzer. And he's like, can't cut anybody's throat with a buzzer, can I? And so they bring him out on the balcony at his request to have his hair cut. And they tighten up Connery's fade out there on the balcony. He looks good. They got him in a suit.
Looks like Sean Connery.
I like the long hair, but he looks pretty suave.
He cleans up pretty
kept it
good,
long,
but he
yeah.
also grinds up pretty nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's a grunge thing.
Yeah.
So
God, that reference was old for this movie.
it was. Meanwhile, all of the other agents, it's just Stanley, the director, the stylist, and Mason on the balcony. The rest of the agents are inside with, again, like just a feast of lobster and seafood towers and shit like that. None of them questioning it. They're all just eating.
I was like, oh, this is good as shit. This is awesome.
Also, by the way, if I was an FBI agent, that would 100% work on me. I love seafood. I love shellfish. I would have been gorging myself shamelessly in that
Absolutely.
room. So...
Hell, I'd even eat the oysters, even though I'd have a really bad time in like 3 hours.
Oh my God. When I was in Mexico, my favorite joint had raw oysters that were delicious. I see them in my dreams regularly since I've gotten back. So underneath the barber's drape, Mason is doing some tying and weaving with this rope that he has. And afterwards, after the cut, Mason asks the director why he should trust him, and asks them to shake on their deal. So Womack takes his hand, and Mason slips a loop of the rope around the director's hand and throws him off the balcony, holding the other end of the rope.
In the worst stunt double scene I've ever seen.
Yes.
Oh, I specifically mention it. Sean Connery's stunt doubles in this movie are awful. You can see every fucking time they have some squat 2'10" Italian man with a fake white beard on as his stunt double. It's absurd how obvious it is.
Believe it or not, I was talking about the dude from the West Wing stunt double. Was
Sure.
Also terrible.
Sure, but that reminded me of all the times I specifically noted how bad Connery's stunt double was for this. So, Stanley draws down on Mason. Mason says, "You're not going to shoot me," but then ultimately just like winds the end of the rope that he's holding, keeping the director from falling around the edge of a chair, and then books it, making Stanley decide to save the FBI director instead of immediately giving chase. So Mason takes off as Stanley's calling for the agents. Mason somehow dodges all of the agents directly inside the room and makes it to the elevator where the stylist is cowering, while the other agents show up to help haul up the FBI director. We get the last bit from the stylist where he's like, "I don't care that you threw that guy over the railing or what you're running from. All I care about is, do you like your haircut?" Which is a bit funny, although way, way ham-fisted.
Yes.
So as soon as the other agents have secured the edge of the line, Stanley takes off after Mason. And this is, by the way, I'm pretty sure somebody on the internet called this out. And if you guys did not pick up on this, I encourage you to go back specifically to the scene where Stanley is running to the elevator. Because the soundtrack sounds like it is playing exactly the theme from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Didn't catch it.
I did pick up on that. I really thought to myself, like, is this Pirates of the Caribbean?
It is a Jerry Bruckheimer production.
100% that scene. It's short, but it sounds like the primary part of the theme from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's
Yes, it does.
insane. So, Mason runs down and steals a car from valet, which, true story, that is a very easy way to steal a fucking car.
We've definitely gone over this.
I know
before.
we have. Fans of the pod will know. If you know, you know. It is a very, very easy thing to steal a car from valet.
And if not, go back and listen to every episode.
Yeah.
We got
We
a lot
mention
of
it
running jokes
repeatedly.
at this point.
It's my best story, so of course I'm going to go back to that well. Stanley actually does the exact. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a moment where this is the first time I was like, the glaringly obvious Sean Connery stunt double is Sean Connery going down the escalator and like knocking down waiters and shit. Not Sean Connery.
No.
Correct.
There's a brief moment where Mason ambushes Stanley and punches him in the face back in the kitchens before he steals the car from the valet. Stanley recovers, also steals the car from the valet, a Ferrari, if I'm not mistaken, while Mason grabbed a Hummer, and then the vehicle, not the act. He's in the middle of fleeing. He doesn't have time for that. So then we get a insane car chase. Truly insane car chase, because a bunch of shit happens with this. This is where we're going to...
One of the worst lines in the movie happens in this.
Which one is that?
I'll wait till we get there.
Okay, fair enough. So, at some point in this chase, like, Mason is like slamming into shit to try and stop the FBI and police vehicles from being able to follow him. There's a ton of destruction that's happening. Mason even hits a telephone pole that comes down and wildly destroys several pursuing vehicles. I'm talking like flips in the air and giant explosions. The owner of the Hummer calls the car phone at some point, alerting Mason to the presence of a car phone, which he then uses. He hangs up on the owner and then calls information to try and track down a specific woman. Stanley manages to avoid the pileups, takes a shortcut through a warehouse and then smashes through the front window. At some point, Mason sideswipes a trolley that gets knocked off the rails. And this is 100% the lead up to the "I think you should leave" skit, because the trolley goes off. People are falling from the trolley as it's off the rails. And the driver is like, "Oh my God, we're going to crash. Save yourselves." And then the trolley flips, explodes in air, all this shit. And the driver in a full-on Tim Robinson sketch scene he goes up to the wreck of the trolley and he's like, "This sucks. I'll get you for this," or something like that. But he opens with, "This sucks." It's so fucking crazy. The whole time I was watching, I was like, this is the maddest I've ever been.
Yeah.
Not the line I'm talking about. The line I'm talking about's coming up.
So also, by the way, right before this, the trolley, after exploding, continues to slide down the street. And Stanley just manages to get out of the vehicle before it pancakes the Ferrari. And then Stanley steals a dirt bike from some kid who's laughing about his Ferrari.
This is the line.
Wrecked.
The kid laughing, and he's just like, "Oh, you wrecked your Ferrari," and Nick Cage just goes, "It's not mine." And then there's like a big pause.
And neither is this.
Yeah.
And then he punches the kid and takes the dirt bike.
Cool. So cool.
Also, by the way, like one of the things that stops Stanley at this point is like the airbags deploying, and you see for a brief flash him pulling his gun like he's going to use it to deflate the airbag, but it cuts away from it. And I feel like that was in another film that we've seen too, where somebody shoots an inflated airbag to get out of the car, but I couldn't place it. So, and it's clear.
I think I know. I think I know what movie you're talking about, and it's called Ads and Services.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it lines up like that. Clean lines, baby.
That one was way off.
My line's clean. So those are some ads. Skip them. Go to our Patreon. That's my advice.
Yeah. Patreon.com/NickCageFight. Go there, give us money, remove ads, get more stuff. Settle down. Marry. Have children. Grow old together. Realize that you married too young and get a divorce. Realize when you're 50 years old that you wasted half of your life. Buy a Ferrari. Crash the Ferrari. Become addicted to painkillers. Die in a fire.
Are we working on the opening lines of your biography, or are we covering The Rock? What are we doing here?
I thought he was quoting
I'm
fitter,
not
happier,
making it to 50.
fitter, happier, more productive, not drinking so much. It's for the Radiohead fans out there.
So, on the dirt bike, Stanley calls his training agent friend to look up information on Mason. Directs him to like a date and a prison because Mason isn't there under his name because they're detaining him illegally, essentially. I do love the bit where the training agent is like, fuck the FBI. I'm going to go work for like Orkin and make roach motels.
Make roach motels.
Yeah. He's like, it's fucking awesome. You should come with me.
You don't have to be stuck in a canister of gas that will melt your skin anymore.
Yeah, no, that dude might be the smartest person in the film.
Yeah.
The person that Mason was trying to track down was Jade, his estranged daughter, which Stanley also clues into her identity because despite not having a name when he's checked into prison, they did record next of kin, which the fuck is going on
That's
here, guys?
dumb as shit. Look, okay, one of the things in the trivia section on IMDb was basically Michael Bay being like, yeah, there's a lot of plot holes, but it's entertainment, so who gives a fuck?
Which,
You know what? I can get down on that.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
me too.
That's very fair. I am going to talk about the plot holes, though, because it
absolutely.
fucking drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Ryan has switched over to brown liquor.
I have.
oh, what
'Cause I
brown
wanna-
liquor?
A little Basil Hayden's.
Hell yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There
it's
you
a
go.
pretty good bourbon.
So, yeah, no, Mason has gotten Jade to agree to meet and speak with him at a art museum of some sort, I believe it is. And so Stanley has managed to track him down as well and calls it in. But he doesn't interrupt this conversation between Mason and Jade. Jade asks, what landed you in prison? And Mason says, like, I want to explain all this to you. I don't have a lot of time right now, but I will, and I'll come back, and I hope, we can get to know each other. She specifically says, I don't know you, and he's like, that's one of the things I want to change. So he assures her he's not an evil man, and if she can believe that, that's a start. Of course, as soon as he says that, we hear sirens in the distance growing closer, and the cops surround Mason and Jade on this bench that they're sitting on.
Does it explain why an SAS agent has a daughter in America?
Well, Jade specifically mentions it's the result of a one-night stand.
Okay.
Yeah, he banged out the mom after a Led Zeppelin concert, I think she said.
I thought
It
she
was
said
Led Zeppelin.
Steely Dan.
It was Led Zeppelin, I think, but I was going to make a joke about it being a Fish concert.
Wait, no, I don't think that timeline fucking adds up. I think Zepp was donezo by then. I could be wrong.
It's entertainment. It doesn't need to make sense.
Okay, that's
Yeah, what
fair.
did we just fucking say about plot holes?
It would have been way funnier if the answer was Steely Dan, because then I could shout out my boy Steve Albini, rest in peace, who fucking hated Steely Dan.
I was about to say, Steely Dan fucking sucks.
Yup. Even though the origin of their name is very funny.
God,
Is it as funny as Limp
yeah,
Bizkit? Because if not, then I...
It's named after
It's
a metal.
invalid.
It's named after a metal dildo in a in Naked Lunch.
okay, that is pretty
Okay,
funny.
you know what? Yeah, that's fine.
So Stanley has overheard at least some of this exchange, and before the cops can surround guns drawn, he approaches and explains to Jade that Mason is working with the FBI on a very sensitive case. And this is where we get the bit Stanley has these breaks in character because mostly he's just nervous and awkward and nerdy. But he's like, what do you think, Mason? Should we get to it? And then as soon as they get out of earshot, Stanley lays into Mason for punching him in the face. I don't think this is the scene where he calls him an a-hole, but it might be. I don't recall.
It would track, yeah.
So we cut to the FBI operating base where Mason is being questioned about his knowledge of Alcatraz and the tunnels, looking at those supposedly useless blueprints. Mason explains he can't help them with the blueprints. He memorized these things, but when he's in there, he'll be able to guide them. The FBI director does not want Mason going along, but everyone else sort of overrules him. This is where we get the line that literally made me groan out loud, where Mason turns to Womack and goes, "It looks like you're between the rock and a hard case."
Yeah.
Boo. Boo. That's
Listen here,
bad. That's a bad line.
That had to have been a Sorkin. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a fucking called shot right there.
We cut to Stanley explaining VX gas to one of the good guy commandos when he's informed he's going in as well. This prompts Stanley to immediately run and start throwing up in the bathroom after this revelation. Paxton comes in to talk to him and actually seems semi-sincere with trying to talk him up, give him some confidence back. And Stanley confides in Paxton about his girlfriend and her being pregnant and how she's in the area. And Paxton says he'll have somebody bring her to the command center, which I guess is as safe as anywhere else in the fucking Bay Area while this is going on.
Yeah, which is not.
Yeah, exactry.
Yeah, it's not.
So the general gets an update regarding the money transfer. The Pentagon folks are trying to delay him, trying to buy more time, and the general is sticking to his guns on this. So the Pentagon team gives the SEALs, the SEAL team, the green light to infiltrate with Mason and Stanley. The team loads up and sets off in a helicopter. They have like mini cams that they turn on the ride over. Mason has requested an odd series of items with no explanation, and they're just like, fine. Here's like a squirt bottle of kerosene, some matches, and I can't remember what else because only the squirt bottle of kerosene and matches come into play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that scene from Airheads where they're making the list of demands.
Oh, yeah!
Like a baseball hat full of coleslaw. And they're like, why are you doing that? Oh, so if the cops catch us, we complete insanity later.
Yeah. That movie is unironically fucking great.
It's so good.
Everybody is given...
One of Buscemi's best roles.
Everybody is given atropine shots, just like in the opening scene, in case they come into contact with the VX gas. Carla's picked up and brought to the command center, where she's told to just be quiet and stay in the car. And Carla, being a firebrand, immediately starts acting up. She flees the car, gets into the command center, and then they just let her stay in the area where like really confidential shit is being discussed the rest of the time, because like, I don't want to throw her out, you fucking throw her out. The SEAL teams drop in at this point, using two other helicopters as like a decoy. But the general's men are they know something's up, right? So they step up their patrols. The SEALs make it into a cistern room, which is their primary point of entry into the tunnels underneath Alcatraz. And it looks like there's no way out of this room. There's like a locked door that they didn't bring like breaching charges or anything for.
Yeah, not a smart call.
No, but this is one of the parts that is so fucking funny to me. So there's this locked door, and then there's this machine. And I say machine because it's like this like furnace thing, but there's this gap at the bottom that's wide enough for like a grown 60-year-old man to roll through. But at alternating points, there's gouts of flame and these weird like half cogs like swooping through. No idea what this is supposed to be.
I have an exact phrase for what this thing is. It's a video game QuickTime event.
Yeah, it's a saw trap is what it fucking is.
It's where you're going to get really frustrated in Resident Evil 4 and throw the controller.
Yeah. And they don't even bother trying to explain a legitimate real-world use for whatever the fuck this thing is. But
It's to fuck you up real
Mason's
bad.
like, yeah, Mason's like, I know the timing. I can roll through it. And they're like, if you get caught in one of those fire blasts, you're dead. And he's like, yeah, I hope they haven't changed the timing. And so he rolls through, and like the SEAL team and Stanley are waiting, and they're like, fuck, Mason fucked us. This whole thing's fucked up. And then the door opens, and we get the welcome to the Rock. That's they said the name of the movie.
They did.
Again.
They did it.
They did say the name to the movie. So this is kind of a point with the Welcome to the Rock where we have to make a hard decision here, guys.
We have 9 minutes.
said-
I can get through the rest of the movie in 9 minutes.
9? Okay, yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, we also have to adjust for that little break we took during ads. 'Cause
I already did.
Well,
you
yeah.
already did.
I
All right.
already did. We're at 51 minutes.
Yeah, I think
That tracks.
we tried to get through this in 2 parts. It's not a thing that's in the cards.
2.5 parter. We can do a 2.5.
Yeah, I'm fine with doing a little baby episode at the end there.
All right, we did a little baby episode, but I think we should wrap this episode for our listeners' sake.
Yeah, let's cram as much of this movie in the next 9 minutes as we can.
We're at 8 minutes.
Okay.
8 minutes.
So anyway, so Mason opens the door. He welcomes them to the Rock, and the SEALs continue under Mason's direction as the general's men are patrolling the storm drains. How all of this fucking syncs up, who gives a shit, right? But the SEALs advance to the shower room. Unfortunate, given the fact that the general's men is like, this is where they're going to come from in the beginning of the movie. And so, like, they send up one of those stick camera things, and they're like, they've got laser guys. And they even, this pisses me off a little bit. So, like, they turn the stick camera, and they see the trembler, the little fucking bauble, and they're like, the laser is hitting something like a prism. Don't worry, I'm going to use one of those things a dentist uses to look into your mouth and redirect the laser back to the source, which will keep it from realizing it has been tripped.
One of those little, like, angled mirrors, right?
Yeah, that's all it
I've
is.
definitely seen an action movie where somebody uses those to snipe around a corner. And it was fucking cool.
Sure, that sounds neat.
This was not so neat.
Less neat. I don't understand how redirecting a laser directly to the source keeps it from realizing it's been tripped. Doesn't the receiver part have to be receiving the laser or it's been tripped?
I think it's because it doesn't decreases
I don't
the wavelength of the light if it's the same distance. I think.
That's bullshit. It's bullshit. You're talking out your ass.
I might be. Bitch, I might be.
It's so simple that we use fucking laser tripwire technology for garage door openers, okay? It's very simple. You try and hop over that line, you bang your head against a garage door. That's how it works.
Yeah, and if you have
Slapstick.
cigarettes, you can blow the smoke on them to know where the lasers are, and then you're Solid Snake.
If you're Catherine Zeta-Jones, you can dip beneath the lasers. Oh.
Ooh.
That's a Workaholics reference. We've never done one of those before.
It's a Workaholics reference to, if I'm not mistaken, another Sean Connery film.
Movie.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Shit. Anyway, so they redirect the laser with the mirror. Logic be damned. But in doing so, they trip the trembler. And the general's men realize what's going on, and they storm into the showers. By the way, one of the fucking Marine dudes working for the general is the guy who plays what's his name
Tuco
from Breaking
Salamanca.
Bad.
Yeah, the dude with the knife who snorts
yes.
the meth.
Yes.
Tuco.
Yep.
Yes.
That's him.
Yeah.
He's got a sweet ass undercut man bun though.
Yeah, he does.
I'm not gonna lie. That's a solid haircut.
You only see him face on like 3 times in the movie because I was watching. I was like, "Is that fucking Tuco?" And then every time it was like you see him from the back with the man bun.
It's him.
It's him. It's
oh,
100% him.
Yeah.
It was always him.
almost like every seal but one goes up into the showers. One seal remains down in the tunnels with Mason and Stanley. And as soon as all of those seals are up, the general and his men confront them. They're like, "We've got you surrounded from the high ground. Give up." And the SEAL team leader, who is who's the dude from the future in the Terminator who tries to save them from the Terminator?
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese. He's the dude who leads the SEAL team.
Yeah.
He's like, "I can't do that. I swore duty to the Constitution to protect all enemies,
America.
foreign and domestic."
I think he's
That's
also
you. I'm
the,
looking at you.
Yeah, I think he's also the dude that dies shortly before Bill Paxton does the "We're all doomed, man" in Aliens.
They're coming out the fucking
Game
walls,
over, man. Game over.
God, I love a Paxton.
How can
I'm
you not?
gonna lie.
Who's your favorite president? Bill Paxton.
Correct to do.
So, yeah, there's the SEAL team captain makes a plea to the general, to the men. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad scene. There's a good amount of tension. It's played relatively well. But then, of course, like always happens in situations like this, a rock falls. And then people start shooting. So anyway,
It's the
they pull
titular
out their
rock.
guns and they start blasting. And people start dying. SEALs, almost exclusively, and very quickly. They get blasted to pieces. Down in the tunnels, like Mason and Stanley are like, "Don't go up there. Don't go up there, other SEAL." He climbs up out of the hole and gets immediately shot in the fucking forehead. It's so quick. He does nothing and just gets air-holed a split second later, which is unfortunate. The general, to the credit of the writing of his character, is trying to get his men to stop firing almost as soon as they start. It does not work. It does not go down that way. Firing continues until everybody is fucking dead. So Mason at this point calmly just takes weapons and gear from the dead SEAL that fell back down into the tunnels after he got shot in the forehead, and starts moving further down the tunnels, and Stanley follows him. That's it. We're at time. And let's see if we're going to have a baby episode. I still have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 paragraphs of notes.
Well,
So
I guess we're doing a little baby finisher episode.
yeah. Hey, look. These are the Holy Trinity episodes. I did not in any way, shape, or form pad my notes here. This is just what it is. The big three require a bit more of our time and energy and patience.
And we knew this going in.
And I just found out that there were 2 more script doctors on this movie.
Who?
Dick Clement and Ian Lefrenaise? 2 British screenwriters living in L.A. who Sean Connery brought on to punch up his specific dialogue, but they apparently ended up punching up all the dialogue. So I don't know if we can blame some of this shit on Sorkin. What's going on with this movie?
We can clearly blame some of it on Sorkin.
I'm going to blame everything I don't like on Aaron.
That is 100% fair. I'm going to blame it all on Dick Clement because that's a really funny name.
Yeah. All right. So
that brings us to what? Fucking 8 screenwriters? That's crazy.
I feel so bad for the 3 credited writers.
Me too.
That's fucking crazy.
Like, hey, good job, but now we're bringing in some real...
You think they had
No wonder.
You think they had like a fucking death match to figure out which ones would get credit?
No, I think those 3 writers were so fucking pissed off. Like, I think they had secured the credited writing bits early, And they just brought this cavalcade of doctors in.
Like 5 other dudes.
Yeah. And I'm fucking looking at it. I'm looking at their credits again. Both of them did 2 more movies. One 3 years later, and the other 17 years later. These guys were done with the industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes just looking at the credit is the story.
It is. It is. And I'm so glad you dug that up, because I was like, why didn't these guys ever write another, like, movie like The Rock?
And why does this movie feel
know.
like 8 different movies crammed together?
That's why.
That's 100% why.
Yeah, because that's what it was. They had to cut, like, at least 30 minutes of foot scenes.
Oh, yeah.
From Tarantino shit.
Oh, just between Tarantino and Sorkin, you know, there's an hour of like random dialogue on the cutting room.
There's
where it's
300
like fucking
pages of script on the cutting room floor.
And I bet all that fucking dialogue is Cage and Sean Connery talking about James Bond movies.
How many "that just happens" do you think they had to cut out of the final script of this?
This is still a couple of years early for that, because like that didn't. I don't think that line even crops up in Buffy the Vampire Slayer until the late seasons in the early 2000s.
That's true, but they may have been trying to workshop it for this one.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, listeners. I guess we're going to a part 3. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you all wanted? Maybe. And if so, I'm sure you can endure the wait. If you really didn't want a part 3, yell at us on social media. We'll apologize. I will, at least. You can find us on X at cagefight_pod. Facebook, if you're a drunk uncle, you think we're Nick Cage, it's fine. Haven't listened to a single episode, I guarantee you. And we do have that sweet Patreon that Rich is very insistent on telling us all about, and for good reason. It seems like a great deal to me. What is it again, Rich?
Yeah, that is patreon.com/NickCageFight. You give us $1, and Ryan personally will come to your house
and give you a white knuckle hand job.
And I was going to say during the ads, just scream in your ear so you can't hear them.
Yes. I have a good screaming voice. You won't hear it without paying, though.
Yeah, some things are only for the money.
Yeah, so I'm not going to belabor the outro here. We have another whole fucking episode to record. So thank you, as always, for listening. We hope you'll tune in for the thrilling conclusion of The Rock. And thank you again for listening. Please remember, as always, we appreciate you.